Arsenal are going for everything and nothing is going to stop them. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you woke up on a Saturday morning, made your cup of tea or coffee, and genuinely felt that your football club had a real shot at winning 3 trophies in one season? For most Arsenal fans, that feeling has been a long time coming. Years of almost, years of close but not quite, years of watching other clubs lift the big prizes while Arsenal fans found ways to stay loyal and hopeful anyway. But right now, in the spring of 2026, something different is happening at the Emirates. Something that feels real, something that feels like it could actually go all the way. Arsenal are top of the Premier League. They are still in the FA Cup. They are still in the Champions League. And yes, before you ask, people are using the word treble out loud, without embarrassment. But here is the twist. Right in the middle of all of this excitement, the whole country started talking about Arsenal for a very different reason. Not because of a brilliant goal or a big win, but because 11 of their players pulled out of international duty all at once during the March international break. 11 players from one club. That is almost half of the total number of Premier League players who withdrew from their international squads during that entire break. And of course, as soon as the numbers came out, the questions started flying. Were Arsenal faking injuries to protect their players? Were they putting club before country? Was Mikel Arteta playing games? Arteta came out and spoke directly about it. And what he said tells you a lot about how this Arsenal squad is being managed right now and why they have a genuine chance of doing something historic. So let us break it all down. Every bit of it. The injuries, the controversy, the Martin Zubimendi story, the treble chase, and what it all means for Arsenal and their fans heading into the final stretch of this season. How did we even get here to understand why 11 Arsenal players missing international duty caused such a stir? You need to understand the journey this team has been on this season. Arsenal went into the 2025 to 2026 season with real belief. Not just fan belief, which has never been in short supply, but genuine squad depth, a settled manager in Mikel Arteta, and some very smart summer business. The biggest of those bits of business was the signing of Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad for around £60 million. Zubimendi had been wanted by almost every big club in Europe for 2 years before Arsenal got him. Liverpool thought they had him in the summer of 2024. Real Madrid wanted him. Barcelona, as we will come to later, tried and failed to sign him years before. But it was Arsenal who finally made it happen last summer, and the Spanish midfielder has been outstanding since arriving in North London. With Zubimendi sitting deep and controlling the tempo of games, Arsenal have looked more assured in midfield than they have in years. Declan Rice has been freed up to make those powerful runs forward. Martin Odegaard, when fit, has been pulling the strings higher up the pitch. And the whole team has looked like a proper title contender from the very start of the season. They won games, they drew a few they probably should have won, they kept pace at the top of the table, and then something else happened that made everything more complicated. Arsenal went to Wembley for the Carabao Cup final and lost to Manchester City. Now, losing a cup final hurts. Any Arsenal fan will tell you that. But in this case, the defeat came with a very costly side effect. Players got hurt. William Saliba, one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, came away from the Carabao Cup final with an ankle problem. Gabriel Magalhaes, his defensive partner, picked up a knee issue. And those 2 withdrawals set off a chain reaction that would eventually lead to 11 Arsenal players missing the international break. The withdrawal that shocked everyone when the international break arrived in March, the numbers started to trickle out and then flood in. Saliba was out, Gabriel was out, Odegaard was out, Jurrien Timber was out, Eberechi Eze was out. Then, once the players who were fit enough to travel had joined their national team squads, more problems appeared. Declan Rice came back to London Colney early, Bukayo Saka came back early, Zubimendi came back early with a knee injury of his own. Leandro Trossard, Noni Madueke and Piero Hincapié were also on the list, 11 players in total, all from one club, all missing international football at the same time. Now, you can understand why people started asking questions. Football has a long and not very proud history of clubs being creative about injuries when it suits them. Players who are somehow too injured to represent their country but then appear fresh and raring to go for their club the following weekend. It is a well-known pattern and fans and journalists know to look for it. So the question being asked all over social media, in press conferences and in pubs and living rooms was simple. Was Arsenal being straight with everyone, or were they protecting their players for the big games coming up? Here is what makes this situation worth thinking about carefully. Arsenal are chasing something massive right now. They are at the top of the Premier League. They are in the FA Cup quarter-finals. They are deep in the Champions League. If there was ever a time for a club to be quietly tempted to keep their best players at home during an international break, this would be it. But Arteta came out and said something that deserves to be taken seriously. What Arteta said and why it matters: when Mikel Arteta faced the press, he did not get defensive. He did not dodge the question. He went straight at it. He talked about the relationship Arsenal have with national team managers, including England boss Thomas Tuchel. He said the communication between the club and international teams is open and honest. He said that when there is a medical situation with a player, Arsenal give a straight answer about what the problem is and leave the decision to the medical professionals. He also said something that felt very genuine when you think about the players involved. He said that when a player is fit, they must go and play for their country. He said how proud Arsenal are to have so many players called up by their nations. And he said the players themselves are desperate to represent their countries. They are not looking for excuses to stay home. Think about Bukayo Saka for a moment. Saka is one of England's most important players. He loves playing for England. He was part of their Euro 2024 run. Playing for his country is not something he takes lightly or looks to avoid. If Saka came back from the international camp early, the likelihood is that something was genuinely wrong. Same goes for Declan Rice. Rice has been one of England's most consistent performers for years. He wants to play for England. If he came home early, it was not because he was angling for a rest. Arteta's argument, when you lay it out plainly, is this: these players were genuinely hurt or at genuine risk of injury, the medical decisions were made properly, and the national team managers were kept fully informed throughout. That is all any federation can ask for from a club. Whether you believe that fully or not probably depends on how much trust you have in Arsenal as a club. But Arteta's calm and direct response made it harder to dismiss. The treble question that will not go away. Now here is the part that every Arsenal fan has been thinking about, but maybe not saying too loudly, because saying it out loud feels like tempting fate. Can Arsenal win the treble? The Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League all in one season? It has been done before, of course. Manchester United did it in 1999. Liverpool have come close. Manchester City have done remarkable things in recent years. But for Arsenal, this kind of season has felt like something that exists in dreams rather than reality. But right now, with a clear lead at the top of the Premier League, an FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton coming up, and a deep run in the Champions League still alive, the dream is not dead. Not even close. Arteta was asked about team selection ahead of the Southampton game, and he was very careful with his words. He said he would field the strongest possible team available. He said Arsenal are 2 or 3 games away from the FA Cup final, and they know what that competition means. He said they need to win every competition they are in right now. That is not the language of a manager who is thinking about rest and rotation. That is the language of someone who genuinely believes his team can go all the way on multiple fronts. But there is an obvious challenge sitting in the middle of all of this. If 11 of your players are injured or recovering, how do you field your strongest possible team? How do you manage the fitness of players who are coming back from genuine physical setbacks while also pushing them to perform at the highest level every 3 or 4 days? This is the great juggling act of Arsenal's season right now. And how Arteta handles it over the next few weeks will probably decide whether this ends as a story about what might have been or a story told for generations. The Martin Zubimendi story that makes everything richer. Now, let us take a step sideways for a moment, because there is a background story running alongside all of this that makes the Zubimendi situation even more interesting. While Arsenal were dealing with their injury crisis and Zubimendi was recovering from his knee problem, former Barcelona manager Xavi was giving a long interview to a Spanish newspaper. And in that interview, he dropped a very revealing confession. He said he had specifically asked Barcelona to sign Zubimendi when he was still managing the club. Think about when this was. Sergio Busquets, one of the greatest defensive midfielders in football history, was leaving Barcelona. Busquets had defined the way Barcelona played for over a decade. Xavi, who had played alongside Busquets and understood better than almost anyone what that type of player meant to the team, went to the Barcelona hierarchy and said he wanted Zubimendi as the replacement. Barcelona said no. Their reason was financial. They could not or would not spend the money required to bring Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Xavi used this decision, among others, to explain why his time at Barcelona became so difficult. He said his expectations of the club kept falling. He said he arrived believing Barcelona would back him properly in the transfer market, and instead found himself repeatedly told no when he asked for the players he felt the team needed. He was clear that he made mistakes as a manager. He was honest about that. But he was equally clear that he felt let down by the club, and the Zubimendi situation was one of the clearest examples he gave. What makes this story so interesting for Arsenal fans is the journey Zubimendi then took. Barcelona said no. Real Madrid tried to sign him through Xabi Alonso, who had managed Zubimendi at Sociedad and knew exactly how good he was, but Madrid were unwilling to meet Sociedad's asking price. Liverpool came very close in the summer of 2024 and almost got the deal done, only for Zubimendi to decide he was not ready to leave yet. And then Arsenal came in last summer and made it happen. £60 million done. So the player that Xavi identified as the perfect replacement for one of the greatest midfielders in Barcelona's history, the player that Madrid wanted but would not pay for, the player that Liverpool thought they had and then lost, is now playing every week for Arsenal at the top of the Premier League table. That is quite a story, and it speaks to something that often gets overlooked in all the noise around Arteta and his tactical decisions and his squad management. Arsenal have become very, very good at identifying the right player and then actually going and getting them. What this Arsenal squad actually looks like right now. It is worth pausing here to think about the quality in this Arsenal squad, because it is easy to lose sight of it when you are reading about injury lists and international withdrawals. In goal, they have quality and consistency. At the back, when fit, they have Saliba, who is arguably the best defender in the Premier League right now, Gabriel alongside, which is about as good a partnership as you will find in European football. At full back, Timber has been brilliant when fit and adds genuine attacking quality down the right side. In midfield, Zubimendi controls the tempo with that quiet authority that the best deep-lying midfielders always have. Rice provides the energy and the driving runs. Odegaard, when fit, is the creative heartbeat of the team, and around them there is real competition for places, which keeps everyone sharp. Up front, Saka remains one of the most exciting players in the world when he is on form. The addition of Eze has given Arsenal another attacking option who can create something from nothing. Trossard and Madueke add further depth on the wings, and whoever leads the line has a host of quality service coming their way. When you list it like that, you understand why Arsenal are where they are in the league. This is not a squad scraping results together through hard work and organisation alone. This is a squad with genuine quality in almost every area of the pitch. The injuries make it harder, they always do, but the quality is there, and that is why the treble conversation is not ridiculous. The Southampton test, the FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton, is the next big marker on this journey. Southampton, who have had a difficult season in the Premier League, will be no pushovers in a cup tie at St Mary Nick. Cup football has a way of flattening the differences between teams on paper, and Southampton will be determined to cause an upset on their own ground. For Arsenal, the challenge is working out which of their injured players will be available and building a team that can handle what Southampton will throw at them. Arteta, as always, played things very close to his chest in the build-up. His line about letting people speculate and judging afterwards is very typical of how he operates. He does not give away team news. He does not let opponents plan for who they are going to face, but his message was clear enough. He wants to be at Wembley, he wants the FA Cup, and he intends to put out a team that gives Arsenal the best possible chance of getting there. For the fans, this game feels important beyond just the result. It is a statement game, a chance for Arsenal to show that even with an injury list that would cripple most clubs, they can still put a team on the pitch capable of winning at the highest level. A chance to show that the squad depth Arteta has been building really does make a difference. What does this season mean for Arsenal as a club? Let us take a step back and ask the bigger question. What does this season actually mean for Arsenal and their place in English and European football? For the last few years, Arsenal have been spoken of as a club on the rise, a promising project, a team building towards something. Those are phrases that sound encouraging, but also carry a slight edge of not quite there yet. This season feels different. This season, Arsenal are not a team building towards something. They are the something. They are the team at the top of the table with silverware genuinely within reach. They are the team that Real Madrid, Barcelona and Liverpool all missed out on signing players that are now central to their success. Mikel Arteta has done something that is hard to do in modern football. He has built a culture, a style of play and a squad that actually delivers. The players believe in what they are doing. The recruitment has been smart. And even when things go wrong, like losing the Carabao Cup final, the team finds a way to stay focused on the next challenge. There is a question worth asking here, and it is one that every Arsenal fan in this community has probably turned over in their mind. Is this the year? Is this actually the year when Arsenal end the long wait and do something truly unforgettable? The community question, for those of you who have been following Olivia Sports Arsenal coverage all season, you have seen the highs and the lows. You have seen the brilliant performances and the frustrating slip-ups. You have been there through all of it. So here is the question for you. Be honest. Do you believe Arsenal can win the treble this season? Not do you want them to, not are you hoping they will. Do you actually genuinely believe this squad with these players under this manager can do what only a tiny number of clubs in history have ever done and win the league, the FA Cup and the Champions League in the same season? Think about it. Think about Arteta standing at that press conference, calm and focused, talking about fielding the strongest possible team to win every competition. Think about Zubimendi, recovered and ready to play, the midfielder that multiple giants of European football wanted and failed to sign. Think about Saka, Rice, Odegaard, Saliba, all those players who love this club and are fighting for something real. And then ask yourself the question again. The outro here is the truth about this Arsenal season. It is not just about results on a page or a league table. It is about something bigger than that. It is about a group of players and a manager who have built something together over several years and are now standing at the moment when all that work either pays off or it does not. It is about fans who have stayed loyal through the lean years and now get to watch their team compete at the very top level. It is about a club that has been patient and smart and consistent and is now seeing that approach start to bear real fruit. The injury crisis during the international break was a genuine setback. 11 players out at once is serious, but Arteta handled it honestly and directly, and the national team managers were kept in the loop throughout. The decisions were medical, not political. The Zubimendi story adds a brilliant layer to everything. The fact that this player, wanted by Barcelona, Real Madrid and Liverpool, is now playing for Arsenal and helping drive a potential treble charge is not an accident. It is the result of smart, targeted recruitment and a club that knew exactly what it needed. And now, as the final stretch of the season begins, Arsenal sit at the top of the table with the FA Cup and Champions League still alive, looking like a team that genuinely believes in what it is doing. For the Arsenal community here at Olivia's Sports, this is the season to pay attention, all of it, every game, every press conference, every Arteta answer that gives nothing away, and every moment on the pitch that gives everything. Because if this Arsenal team can stay fit, stay focused, and keep performing the way they have been all season, we might be about to watch something none of us will ever forget. Come on, Arsenal.